Welcome into a Varsity 4 Playoff Edition podcast. East Bunch Franklin, I'm Justin Barney. We are coming to you on playoff week, man. I can't believe it's actually here. We're going to breeze through a lot of the playoff matchups and maybe talk about best case scenario for some area teams. But were you, anything surprise you in playoff brackets at all when they were released?
No, I think we were pretty spot on who was going to get in, who was going to get out. When we thought, where teams were going to be seated. I think all went according to what we were thinking pre-release. So nothing really surprised me. What about you? Did anything shock you, or what was your most egregious shock?
I thought Fort White in the rural class, they were 16th in the 16th spot going into the final week. They beat Baker County and dropped out of the playoffs. So that was the biggest one. And then St. Augustine, they were a number 1 seed in Region 1-4A. They jumped up even after a loss in week 11 to Mandarin. So St. Augustine went from a number 2 seed in the region to number 1 when the playoff brackets were announced, despite a week 11 loss. And again, you playing a good team and winning. I think that's even playing a good team and losing was interesting.
And so, basically, too, before we get going or whatever, that when you obviously want the higher seed, because in your quadrant. Basically, if you're the higher seed, are you always going to get home field? Yeah. Because I know a couple years ago, where it was like you thought you were the higher seeded team, but then you ended up not hosting or something. So
in the first round only, district champ. So a couple years ago, I think there was 8 seed hosting a 1 seed because it was the 8 seed was a district champ, the 1 seed was not. Right. So that it. First round is where that applies. Okay. The rest of the way, it's only.
So ultimately, St. Aug will be at home all the way through that quad.
Correct. And potentially into the state semifinals.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay.
So,
which is big because then Choctaw would have to come here.
Again. Yeah. And Choctaw and St. Aug, I think they're going to collide. That's St. Augustine's biggest match, and we're overlooking Ed White because Ed White would be a second round matchup for St. Augustine. Could Ed White win that game, whereas it lost it last year? So let's start in Class 7A. Not a lot of surprise here. Only one local team, that's Creekside. They've got to go to unbeaten to land in the first round. It's going to be a tough roll of the dice for Creekside. So I don't think we need to spend a lot of time on Creekside. I think they've got a difficult path in region in 1-7A. So do not see them moving on in that. So. Okay, next one. We're probably our most challenging classification is Class 6A, which you have Gainesville Buchholz as kind of the presumptive favorite. They've been in the state semifinals 4 straight seasons, which is great as a public school team. But in there as well, you get Nease and Oakleaf in the first round. That's at Nease. Both teams are 8-2. Oakleaf ended Nease's season last year and pretty dominantly, 31-14 in that playoff matchup last year. So a little bit of redemption for Nease if they can win that game. Oakleaf and Buchholz met last year in the 3rd round of the playoffs. Oakleaf lost that game. But Nease, Oakleaf, round 1 is an excellent class. Further down in that, Mandarin earned the number 2 seed in Region 1-6A. They host Crestview. And with how Mandarin has been playing, I would not be surprised to see Mandarin and Buchholz in the regional final here in 3 weeks. They look good. Yeah,
no, I mean that's where it's what's weird is when you look at these Panhandle teams, Pensacola style teams. Obviously, you have some of those name brand teams, like a team we'll talk about later on, who's not as good as they've been as in Niceville. Yeah. But I don't know how good Niceville is, obviously, because we don't get to watch them. I just know Crestview usually is a tough team, but I don't know how good they are. But yeah, I'd still probably pick Mandarin right now, definitely. And then that second round matchup it's an interesting game too because Orlando Evans is playing really good ball, and then they would get the winner of the Pensacola Pace. Yeah. Who also, I think they're 9-1 as well.
Yeah, so Mandarin would host those games too. So that's a caveat of being that number 2 seed. You're going to host all the way until that regional final.
If you play Buchholz,
Buchholz. I mean, you only have to travel once in those first 3 rounds. If it shakes out in the higher seeds, everything goes kind of chalk according to plan. But that is a tough region.
It is like the whole region.
Tough.
Like going up, like I'm telling you, because we know what like Nice and Oakleaf, that's gonna be a banger.
Yep.
And then, one of those teams coming out to have to play, Buchholz. Could they beat Buchholz?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe.
I think Mandarin can
But
bang with them.
I think Mandarin could win this whole quad.
Yeah, same. Buchholz has already waxed Nice earlier in the season, 27-7. So Buchholz has kind of been that Nice kryptonite in the playoffs. So the regional finals, when they went there with Marcus Stokes' junior year and Dom Henry, Buchholz put the waxing on them there. So I think that's Buchholz.
It's tough because, like I say, all these teams can give you a tough out. You know what I'm saying? It's like we don't know anything about these Panhandle teams for one, or even how good Orlando Evans is. But I think all 8 of these teams are capable.
I do, yeah.
It's a scary bracket to be in.
Tough region, and again, Nice and Oakleaf. That's definitely the area game of the week, and then Mandarin as a number 2 seed. And those Panhandle teams are always tricky. Crestview I always remember Crestview. So St. Augustine went to the state championship game, and I think in 2001, got drilled by Rockledge. The next year, they brought all their guys back, and they played in the Final Four game at home against Crestview, and Crestview just waxed them.
Yeah.
They had a running back named Adam Phillips who was just barely played running back all year. He played running back in that game and ran for like 250. So I always remember that Crestview. There's some bangers out there.
No, for real. I think that's what I'm saying. It's like you don't us not being in the know. Like you're going to have a cycle through where like a Pensacola Pine Forest will be really good, and then they'll be average. Pensacola Catholic's usually always pretty solid. Navarre sometimes is, some of these teams we don't really see a lot of. You just know namesake of like this team's always in the playoffs. They're always a tough out. So the question is, how good are they? And so like until you can really get eyes on them or see film or break down stuff, you just go look at, okay, well, what's their overall record? Who'd they lose to? And like again, Crestview and both Pace, I believe, are like 9-1 or 7-3, or something like that. And they've kind of played a lot of the same teams and either lost 1 or 2 of the games that are kind of in that same realm. And then we're even going to talk about some of the teams like later on, even out there, like the Miltons and the Mosleys of the world. So I don't know. So who do you like in the Nice Oakleaf game?
I'm going to probably take Nice.
I think I am too.
Oakleaf to me has just been a little bit erratic this year to me, and I think Nice's defense is phenomenal. The passing offense has struggled again. I mean, you look at the Mandarin Oakleaf game, and Mandarin won that game with defense. And Nice's defense is one of the area's best. Their linebackers are absolutely savage. They force turnovers. They're good on offense, but their defense is so good. And Oakleaf's offense to me has just been a little bit lacking this year against those better teams. So I'm going to take Nice in that one.
I agree.
I'm going to take Mandarin in the other one. How about you?
I'm going to take Nice as well, just because we've talked about how Oakleaf down the stretch here just hasn't been playing well. And I like Nice's defense as well, to what you just said. And I like Mandarin in round 1 as well. So we'll get the breakdown next week of like, okay, who they got to play next week. But I like them. I like Buchholz obviously to come out in the first game, in the 1-8 game, and then I like Nice. Then I like Mandarin.
I'm the same way. Okay, Region 1 5A. We've got Ponte Vedra hosting Niceville, Beachside hosting Milton, Mainland hosting Middleburg. So 3 area teams in that. I like Ponte Vedra. I think Ponte Vedra could make the state semifinals. They're that good. Beachside, Milton. I mean, Beachside took care of business against Fleming Island last week to win that district championship and knock Fleming Island out of the mix. I like Ponte Vedra in that game. It's Beachside Milton, I think, is going to be a banger of a game. I think Milton can win that game. Beachside to me has been a little bit, again, a little bit erratic, although they did turn it on last week against Fleming Island. And then Middleburg going down to face Mainland. I think Mainland wins that game. Yeah,
I like Mainland for sure to beat Middleburg. I think Milton beats Beachside. I just think that'll be, I don't know if it's their kind of playoff introduction style. Again, the good part is it's at Beachside, so they don't have to travel out there. And Ponte Vedra, they've been playing solid all year. This is, like I say, that tricky thing of Niceville's got, it's the name rep on there. So it's like, but their record is pretty poor this year. So it's like, this is not the same Niceville teams it's been in the past. So Could Ponte Vedra be on upset alert, as a 1 seed? Maybe, but I like Ponte Vedra as well.
Yeah, I do too. And Ponte Vedra's made the state semifinals one previous time when Matt Toblin was there. And, of course, you had Mr. Football Nick Troney. But I think they could get there this year as well. I think Mainland is probably still
that's going to be a tough game.
The favorite.
That'll be a tough game
in that region. State champion just as recently as 3 years ago, when the Metro Suburban existed. So, other teams in that area, Aquinas, I think, is probably the favorite down there. Lakeland, Edgewater, down in other regions.
Yep.
But yeah, I think that Class 5A is going to be tough for an area team to do something in long term. Going down to 4A, we talked about a bit ago. St. Augustine, number one seed. They play Arnold, host Arnold. Ed White is hosting Pensacola Pine Forest, and Columbia hosting Rickard. So I think we're going to get. I think St. Augustine rolls through Arnold. I think they play. I mean, Pine Forest, Ed White. It's going to be a good game because Ed White. I mean, we've talked about their electric offense, 537 points in the regular season. But man, can they stop anybody?
Yeah.
Once you get into these games and the tough out of area opponent that Ed White saw this year, Merritt Island.
Yeah.
What happened in that game? They lost 52-49. So this is Pine Forest, another one of those panhandle teams, traditionally a very good program. And yes, they got to come here and play. But is Ed White's offense good enough to kind of offset that defense allowing so many points?
I like him. I like him as Pine Forest. This isn't looking at Pine Forest record and like who they've played and beaten. This isn't the power. Like I don't know, Pine Forest has never been a powerhouse. They've been really good over the past 10 years, but I don't think this is one of their better teams. And I think Ed White's offense will carry them in this game. Now we'll reevaluate against St. Augustine next week, which like I say, could make for a great contrast in styles.
Yeah. And last year they beat. St. Augustine beat Ed White in that second round. I think Ed White, if they stay together next year, with King Boylston has really developed into a really good two-way player, running and the passing. He's got some young guys on that team. King Mercer is good, really, really good. And they're going to lose some guys graduation, but man, this team is good offensively. Can they stop anybody? As the playoffs progress. So I think they're going to have a hard time against St. Augustine trying to do that if it gets into a shootout.
Yeah.
Elsewhere in that region, I think Choctaw is going to make the regional final. Columbia and Rickards, I think Columbia's playoff run is going to be brief. I think they win against Rickards, but I think that second round is going to be tough against Choctaw.
I'm in agreement.
I think their offense is not.
I think Columbia can get past Tallahassee Rickards, but Choctaw is a beast, man.
Yeah.
And I think that we're potentially on the verge of a St. Aug Choctaw rematch of last year, which was a slobber knocker, man.
It was a banger last year.
It was like 13-6 or something like that.
I was shot that game. And it was like, wow, man, this is great. This is just.
I feel like we're on the verge to have a rematch of that, but I can't wait to kind of watch maybe Ed White. Offense versus St. Augustine. See if they could put some pressure on them.
I think that was going to be a really good second round matchup. Okay, going down to 1-3A. This is Raines' region to lose. Raines hosting Baker County, Yulee hosting West Florida, and then Bishop Kenny hosting Wakulla. I was a little surprised Bishop Kenny dropped to number 3 seed as opposed to staying put in that number 2 seed in the region. But Raines is going to wax Baker County. Yulee, they've had the best season in program history, best start in program history, but they've not played well against stronger teams.
Yeah.
Worries me against West Florida.
I got West Florida.
Yeah, I think West Florida, I think, is probably the favorite in this game. Bishop Kenny and Wakulla, I think Bishop Kenny can get to the regional final and play a Raines. Bishop Kenny, they're going to win this game against Wakulla, but they would have to probably go, if Bay wins, go to Bay in the second round, which is a tough panhandle trip. But I think BK can win. I think BK is well coached. They've got a really good passing attack, and they've got a strong running attack with Kayla Madison. So Ranges region.
Yeah, then BK, then you go get beat by 40 against Raines. Good luck.
So I think
now it breaks down. Like I'm in total agreement with that. So the interesting part about this one for me is the whole South Florida thing, the Miami Northwestern versus Miami Central.
Yep.
That's Central's one blemish. Was the Northwestern. That's who, Reigns was supposed to start the season with. So, who wins that game? Do they get the rematch of Miami Northwestern, who beat them last year? Or do they get the team that they were originally going to play week 1? Which would be kind of crazy either way. But, I think we're on a collision course for that.
I think it's going to be the same thing we saw last year.
I think Booker's going to be the team they're going to have to play again as well.
It's going to be Booker. It's going to be Booker and Reigns, and then it's going to probably be Northwestern, and I mean, who else comes out? I mean, Bishop Moore's in there, O'Galley's in there.
That side of the bracket is weak to me, man.
It
with
is.
Bishop Moore.
Yep.
So
So that's going to be, it's going to be a Northwestern or Central versus a Bishop Moore or an O'Galley in that state semifinal. The Miami team can name its score, and then it's going to be the Reigns Booker winner versus probably, I'm going to say Northwestern.
Yeah, I'll say Northwestern
again.
too.
And you hope Reigns has learned. I know we're pumping Reigns up a lot. The Reigns is really good.
Yeah.
There's nobody in that region that's gonna knock him down.
No.
But my only question, I was talking to a coach last week, and my only concern is you haven't played that difficult of a schedule. You played Lake Mary, very good team, beat them handily. But when you get to, Reigns played Trinity, Reigns beat Lake Mary, so they played Creekside, but there's a separation when you're talking, Creekside district champ, Lake Mary, down from last year, but still a good team. There's a difference in playing a 7-3 Lake Mary and then beating a Mandarin or somebody like that. It's just the levels of the layers of, they're just not as, the most challenging opponent of the season, you don't want your first really true difficult test to come to the state semifinals.
Part of it too is, like you say, what makes a great football team is having adversity.
Yeah.
Is having that game where things aren't going right, you're not getting the calls, you're not executing as well, you may turn it over or something and it gets a little tight. I guess Madison County maybe showed some adversity because, the game was closer. But you want to feel that once before all of a sudden you're getting your teeth kicked in the first quarter in the state championship game.
Yes, and
so like you gotta know what that feels like, in a sense, to be like, all right, what do we got to do to rally around the mistakes we're making to clean it up and do things. And again, when that happens in the state championship game, that's it. There's no like, okay, you got to figure it out, or you're on your way to getting blown out.
Yeah, and when I talked to the coach last week about the state championship contenders and what he thought about Reigns, and he said Reigns' schedule worries me because you want to be battle tested by the time you get to that state semifinal round. You don't want that adversity the first time you get slogged in the mouth.
I almost feel like they kind of it was similar to last year in a sense, because they breezed through everything again, and Booker kind of gave them a little bit of adversity in that game. So maybe that could be the same. I think Booker still has some of those guys back on that last year's team. And they've been pretty much beating everybody as well. They're like 9-1 on the year. And I think they're going to kind of breeze through their quad. So if they got matched up with them, maybe that would give them that gut game. But again, that's even still that's late in the year too. Like you're getting your first gut check game. You know, the semifinals.
That's why to me, that's why not having a game like that Bolles game or that Central game on there to kind of test you. Worries me a little bit for Reigns the later in the season it gets, but I still think they'll get
the other part. The other major thing what that does to you is you get complacent. Because you feel like you're untouchable, and so I know that's you can try to like talk out of that, but when you're beating people 60-0 every week, you think you're going to do that every week. And so the minute you don't do that and all of a sudden you're in a dogfight, you got to be able to be like, okay, hold up now. Okay, we're not as good as we were in those other games. This team's a lot better. That complacency thing is what really can ruin you. And that's the hard part of when you're just waxing teams. You're just going to roll the ball out there and we're gonna kill this team. And like that doesn't always happen. So the crazy part is it's not going to happen in these first 3 rounds.
And Reigns is good, and I do think Reigns is better than they were last year. And I think they will have learned from that humbling in the state championship game, and people saying they don't play anybody. I think they've digested that and stuff.
And the good part is, you can take some of that whole, like bulletin board stuff and be like, hey, nobody's respecting you. You're not playing anybody. You can use that card for a little while too to motivate you. But again, until all of a sudden you're down 14-0, you haven't felt that.
Yeah.
And so what do you do then in that moment when you're down 2 scores in a game that's no tomorrow?
Yeah, yeah, it's tough. So I think we're in agreement. I think Range is the area. I mean, really, really strong team. I think they get back to the championship game. It's just a question of who are they going to face. But I'm with you. I think Range rolls through this region. Okay, Region 1, 2A. We got Bolles and Walton. We have Baldwin heading to Florida High, and those are our 2 teams in there. And then Region 2, 2A, we have Bradford and Avon Park in that. So I think Bolles rolls through this region. There's no Gadsden County in there this year like last year. I mean, Gadsden County 21-9 Bolles in the regional final. It's the first time that Bolles had not got to the state semis under Matt Toblin. Bolles overwhelming favorite here in this region, and wouldn't be surprised if you see a Bolles-Baldwin second round clash. Again, Baldwin is really good. I think they can beat Florida High in that in the playoff opener. And then you get Bolles. I think Bolles puts a running clock on Walton, and I think they probably get a Pensacola Catholic in the regional final, and I think they win that game.
Yeah, I'm totally agreeing.
Yeah, I think Bolles is good.
I'll have a hot take, but I'll save it to the end.
Okay, all right.
I think Bolles rolls through this.
Yeah, I think Bolles, and I think we could get a Bolles-Bradford state semifinal showdown too. I think that's good.
Yeah.
I think Bradford gets through its region without any issue as well. There's no Newberry in there. I mean, there's Newberry in there, but this isn't the same Newberry team as last year. So I think Bolles rolls through there. We had Astroghetto on our show last Friday night and talked to him about the path, and he just feels like they're more mature, they're more experienced than they were last year, and they're really good on that defensive line. They're good out of the backfield. Xander Edwards got some really good talented receivers in Camden Teetsy and Naeem Burrows. So I think this is Bolles' year to get back to the state semifinals. I don't think there's any issue down there. Before we get into our Region 1-1A, you following First Academy stuff?
Yeah.
First Academy.
Yeah.
So we'll talk
Orlando's finest.
Yeah. So last year, First Academy is the private school in Orlando. Had all these infractions, and were basically banned from the playoffs last year and this year. So a group of parents came in the last second. The school, I think, accepted the punishment, and the group of parents came in last week for the playoff brackets were announced and filed an injunction to be able to play in this year's playoffs. Forgetting the small fact that you had all these infractions, and they were USA Today's John Santucci had followed this and done a really good job reporting on it, had made kind of connections to Miami Northwestern, to Nice, to Gadsden County, and they felt a 2-year playoff ban was not in line with what some of these other schools had. Okay, so Miami Northwestern's Teddy Bridgewater, very prominent case. Teddy basically self-reported, outed himself. He said he needed to raise money because he'd spent all this money last year providing for his team. Again, and Teddy's doing it not to pull players there. He's doing it to help his kids out. And, that was a violation. You had so many people speaking up on Teddy's behalf. I mean, I was in Tallahassee last week at this at a Senate education hearing, and Corey Simon, who's the head of that committee, former Florida State player, first-round draft pick,
D-tackle,
mentioned this Teddy situation and how unbelievably unfair it was. And you had Department of Education commissioners reaching out saying Teddy should be celebrated and not villainized in all this. So you had a ton of people supporting Teddy Bridgewater. FHA had to do something because it went against its bylaws. So they basically slapped a phantom 1-year suspension on Teddy Bridgewater, who was back playing in the NFL. So anyway, First Academy is drawing these connections. Oh, Teddy didn't get, we got slammed for this. This Miami Northwestern guy didn't get anything. Gadsden County got off lighter. The Nice situation with the Robert Garr thing. And First Academy says, hey, we deserve to be back in the playoffs. This is unfair, this punishment. The fact that They didn't play district games. You're begging a judge, and the judge said, "Okay, we'll hear this injunction." So it's being heard this afternoon. It's absolutely asinine. I had First Academy parents messaging me on Twitter saying it's ridiculous, or one coach I saw down there said, we're going to pray for you, people who were taking shots at First Academy. It has nothing to do with the players. I mean, people aren't wishing First Academy bad stuff. You're not rooting against the players. The problem I have is you broke a laundry list of rules.
Yeah.
Not just, they're saying, oh, it's similar to Miami Northwestern. They got nothing, got no issue. Similar to Gadsden County, they only got 1 year. First Academy's situation was, let's say Gadsden County situation was an 8. First Academy is a 12 on the scale of issues. You had kids practicing there who weren't even enrolled at the school. You had tons of kids transferring over because coaches or athletic directors were alleged to have enticed them over there. You had a lot of things going on that wasn't just a public school head coach paying for Uber rides for his player. I mean, come on. The situations are not exactly black and white. And I think, and the FHA certainly thought as well, they were doing it to get a competitive advantage over other teams. Absolutely lock, stock, and barrel. Teddy was doing it so his kids could eat and get to school and have treatment. He's doing it, and Corey Simon said it best in that Senate committee hearing last week. He was doing the job that the community should have done for those kids. He was doing the job of what parents should have done, what families, aunts, uncles should have done for these kids. First Academy was doing it to build a superpower football team. Teddy was doing it to help kids out. So I have an issue with coaches over saying, "Oh, we'll pray for you since you're demonizing us. We'll pray for you. You're wishing our." No, you guys broke so many rules. It's not even funny. And I hope a judge in Florida
that's going to be the crazy.
Today
what's the odds on this thing, man?
I hope a judge in Florida says you guys absolutely earned this punishment. It's asinine that it was even done, and this injunction was granted. So I hope First Academy, not ill will towards the kids, nothing, but you waited till the last second to file an injunction. You didn't play district schedule like other teams in the playoffs did. You earned your punishment. Now deal with it. That's and I'd say the same thing if it was a local school that happened to.
It also it goes back to the whole thing of the society when it feels sorry for me, and we did a little bit of a punishment. So let's get off easy. And take me off, a year early for good behavior type stuff.
And I get it. You guys had a good season. You could play in the playoffs and have a good year, but it's too little, too late. The FHSAA, people say, FHSAA is just they went overboard on this. FHSAA is terrified of slapping a penalty that's too strict on a school for fear of retribution from the state. They are powerless now compared to how they were 10 years ago. And my fear is if this is allowed to, if the judge and the courts down south say, we're going to let First Academy back in the playoffs. What incentive does a school have to follow the rules?
Exactly.
You can recruit, do all this stuff, bring kids, have kids practicing after school who are not enrolled there. Coaches, on the record having been accused of recruiting and stuff, and been found credible in that. And what is stopping Gadsden County from filing an injunction too and say, hey, we won our district, let us back in the playoffs. Come on. It's FHA, if there's no incentive to not cheat, not recruit, bend the rules, whatever, schools shouldn't have to follow it.
And what's crazy about that too is you think about, we know there's some stuff going on at all these places now, especially the way that kind of the whole landscape's kind of changed like that. So if you do get caught and you are doing egregious stuff, then you should get punished for it.
Absolutely.
Because here's the thing, some of these other places are reporting and self-reporting and all that stuff, on like minor, we would consider maybe minor infractions style. But what they were doing was definitely, they were trying to get the best kids at the school, and they weren't doing it in the proper channels. And like you said, the guy. How do you have guys playing on the team that aren't even enrolled in the school?
So
it's
ridiculous. I don't think they have a leg to stand on. I think it's too late in the process to do it.
That's the other thing too. I almost feel like they're trying to come in at the last minute to get a quick, easy out.
Yep.
And they're hoping. I mean, might as well try it, right? They got to say no. They got to tell you no.
The entire playoff, that region of the playoffs in 1A,
it's blocked out.
There's Monday of game week, and there's not the region playoffs haven't been announced yet there. So FHA is handcuffed on this. This is actually in a court of law now being decided. And First Academy, I wish you no ill will, but you broke the rules. Your punishment was given to you last year. And here we are the week of the playoffs, and you have a group of parents saying, let us in. You broke the rules. I understand that your kids are graduating. They don't get a chance to playoffs.
You already knew that going in the year.
I can't swear I would like to.
But you say you already knew that going into the season.
You knew that months ago.
So don't make me feel sorry for you now that we're here. If you wanted a chance to go play for a playoff, you should have transferred.
Yeah, ridiculous.
Go transfer somewhere else.
Ridiculous. And again, as we sit here now, the rule has not been heard. And I'm hoping that same situation happens like in 2015. Mandarin had made the playoffs. There's Orange City University or whatever. I believe it was OC University. Group of parents had petition to get back into the playoffs after ineligible players or whatever. They filed an injunction. The injunction was heard the day of the state playoff game. So they were trying to squeeze back into the sate playoffs and play Mandarin on Friday. The injunction was heard Friday afternoon. So Mandarin here, they're waiting. Are we going to play OC University? Who are we going to play? So, and the court heard the stuff. They admonished the FHA a little bit for some antiquated rules. But they ultimately sided with the FHA and said, hey, these are clear rules defined in the bylaws. You broke them. Enjoy your offseason. Yeah. And that's what I hope happens with First Academy. I think it's open and shut. They broke rules, 2-year punishment. Your situation, far different than Miami Northwestern, Gadsden County,
like
Nice.
You say, it's one of those things of ultimately, like, if you – this is a part of the Pandora's box you don't want to open
at all,
because you got to still have some rules and regulation, man.
Yeah,
you just have to.
Got to have it, and I hope they uphold that First Academy
I agree.
Situation, because I think if you let that slide, then you incentivize schools that break the clearly written rules to continue to try to do that.
Yeah.
And I do think FHA is going to have to get leaner and looser on recruiting and stuff, but I just don't think this is the situation to do it, since there were so many other violations of First Academy. And I hope the First Academy guys who are saying you pray for us, continue to pray for Sponge and I, because we do need the prayers. But our souls are in good shape. We're not rooting against you. But okay, anyway, that was a tangent. But that Region 2 1A has not been released yet. So Region 1 1A, University Christian, number 1 seed, Episcopal and Impact Christian playing there. Providence and Trinity Christian and NFEI play in that region as well. I think it's going to be like we said all season long, University Christian and Trinity. Trinity's righted the ship after a tough start. Those young guys continue to grow up. UC has been very good and consistent.
Yeah.
Regional final again?
Yeah, totally. And I think that's going to be a heck of a ball game.
Yeah.
Because, again, UC, I feel like we haven't really talked about Trinity or UC like we normally do.
Yeah, really.
Like, yes, we talk about them when they're playing, Reigns or, when they're in a big game. But, we talked about UC having kind of a odd schedule, playing more, out of region games, out of area games. But they're a scrappy team.
Yep.
They're good. They're good on defense. And I think both teams breeze to that spot. Winner take all.
I like the Episcopal Impact matchup. I like that NFEI is in there for the first time. So I like Region 1A, but I do think it's University Christian and Trinity Christian matching up in the regional finals. In the Sunshine State Athletic Association, West Nassau and Fernandina Beach. They are playing in the semifinals of that on Friday night. Going to be an excellent matchup. Those guys have talked all year long about this matchup.
Did they play earlier this year? Or no?
Yeah, and West Nassau won. But just like last year, West Nassau won the regular season game. Fernandina bounced back in the playoffs and won. That is going to be a colossal matchup in Nassau County on Friday night. So looking forward to that one. Man, Sponge, I can't believe playoffs are already here. We will talk some, first week of the playoffs next week. It's going to be fun.
All right, well, see, normally you always preface before we go out is like, how many teams are going to get to a state championship?
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Who's going to win a state championship? Do we have any? I mean, obviously, we've talked about it multiple times.
I think we get 2 teams in the championship game.
All right.
I think Rains and Bolles. And, man, I don't know. I don't know if anybody wins.
My hot take is Bolles is winning the state title.
Okay, all right.
That's not really a hot take, but after looking at it, I think Bolles breezes through to where they'd have to play at Bradford.
Yeah.
I think that would be one heck of a game. But I was looking at the South bracket and the Tampa brackets.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
I'm not really sold on anybody where I'm like, they don't have a Plantation or a Booker T. Like, dude, have you seen Booker T? How much they've fallen off the map? How does that happen?
Yeah.
I feel like they're like a First Coast, like, Sandalwood type situation. Booker T.
They've fallen,
And so there's not one of those teams that's like waiting down the line to where like this
is Bolles' year to do it, I think. I think Rains and Bolles get the championship games.
I think Rains gets there as well. If they were to play Northwestern again, I'd probably go Northwestern.
Yeah.
The other team that can St. Augustine do it?
Probably not. I think St. Aug's got some flaws on defense. But
I agree.
Yeah, we'll be talking second round of the playoffs next week.
Let's do
He
it,
is
man.
Sponge Franklin. I'm Justin Barney. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.